meeting is being recorded.
I wanted to thank you for taking time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much for being there and for showing interest. It's a pleasure.
I wanted to ask you what led up to you discussing the revolutions of 1848.
Well, yeah, it's a subject which I would say deserves a bit more exposition. It's an important part of German history, of course, but it's really being overshadowed by the more recent and dreadful history of the 20th century.
Sure.
But the revolution of 1848, I think it was an important stepping stone in our country's path to democracy, because even though the revolution failed and we still had a monarchy and even a dictatorship later, it was the first try on German soil to establish a democracy, and it's a bit of a pity that it's almost forgotten by now. And so I've been rather passionate about European 19th century history for quite a while, and I thought, why not make this subject into an album? And so I did, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you how much extra research went into the making of this album?
Oh, there was quite a bit actually. So I read a lot of non-fiction books about that period.
Mm-hmm.
Also, some in order to get a feel for that period of time, and I live in Frankfurt, which was an important center of the revolution of 1848, with, for example, the first German National Assembly taking place in Germany's St. Paul's Church, which I've been to countless times.
Wow.
So yeah, I can't really put a finger on it how much time I spent on the research, but it was quite a while. So I spent a lot of time reading about it and trying to get into it.
And you have amazing guest vocalists on this album. I wanted to ask you, what was the determination of what artist would sing what role?
That is a really difficult process, I would say. And I always compare it to a film director choosing actors for his roles, because obviously the main thing is that they all had to be great vocalists, yeah. But you can't just pick any vocalist for any character, because you have to keep a certain diversity on the album, because if you take 12 vocalists that all sound like, say, Michael Kiske or like Zach Stevens, then you will have 12 excellent vocalists, but they all will sound similar. So so you have to focus on a certain diversity there. And because I read so much about that part of history, after a while I had a certain idea of how the different characters should sound. So I would say, okay, this character here deserves a rather high-pitched, screamy voice, and this character there should sound a bit more down to earth, more gritty, maybe more aggressive, a bit calmer, etc. And so I picked the vocalists according to how I imagined the characters. So it wasn't really, I didn't really research how the historical person's voices sounded naturally. So it was more about how I imagined them in my mind.
And I think in songs like Confederation and the title track as well, the decisions you made on the vocalist really stands out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because of course, with vocalists like Harry Conklin, Ralph Sheepers, Blaze Bailey, these are very experienced guys, and of course they know what they're doing, and they really knew how to breathe life into their roles, which they portrayed. So it was really great because this album it developed over a long period of time, and so every time another contribution showed up in the mailbox, it was like Christmas Day all over again.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in speaking of that, I wanted to ask you, in one of those packages you received, was there a certain moment where a vocal was sent and you're like, wow, this is beyond what I envisioned?
There were quite a few of those moments, indeed. It starts like some of these vocalists I've been a fan of for literally decades. For example, if you take Zach Stevens, uh, I was first exposed to Savatage when I was 16. Uh, I saw them live for the first time, and they completely blew me away with their music and their stage presence. And
Sure.
if you had told the 16-year-old me then that that vocalist would sing on my album many, many years later, I wouldn't have believed it. I probably would have fainted on the spot. Guys like Zach Stevens or Harry Conklin, I worshipped them for years, really. And now just to have them sing on my album was amazing. And of course, there were quite a few occasions when I listened to some tracks and I thought, this is incredible. I have to pinch myself. Is this really happening? And it's difficult to name just one high point, but one other guy asked me about this, and I thought for a while, and I thought, okay, the penultimate song on the album, Farewell, which is sung by Harry Conklin alone. It's this really slow piece where he portrays Bloom, who writes his farewell letter to his wife immediately before he's being fetched for execution. And Harry Conklin, he put so much emotion in that song. So I literally cried when I heard this for the first time. And nice thing is that 2 years ago, my other band, Elven Path, we actually played a support show for Jack Panzer, and I told Harry about this, how much his vocals had moved me, and me telling him moved him, and he was close to tears, and he hugged me and thanked me for giving him this opportunity. And I thought, what are you telling me? I'm the one who should thank you for literally making a dream come true.
And I wanted to ask you, as far as the development of the album, was the music set to go with the lyrics, or did the music come first?
It kind of was intertwined. So when I create a concept album like that, I first think about the story, and I map out the story, which part of the action should happen in what song. And so once I know what should happen in a song, I can focus on what songs to create. So I know that, okay, this song should be fast, and this one should be a bit calmer, a bit more emotional, and this one should be full of speed and power and aggression. But the lyrics are being written only after the entire music is finished.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And I wanted to ask you as well, what track was the hardest to come to where we hear it today? What song changed the most?
That's I mean, if you have a lot of guest musicians involved, of course, there's always some changes, because it's important to me that all the vocalists and the drummer, etc., they don't just do what I tell them, but they can bring their own personalities and their own styles to the table. So, for example, I sang guest vocals for all the vocalists. No, not guest vocals, guide vocals. Sorry, and I told them, please feel free to stick to the guide vocals, but also feel free to make changes if you think something fits more to your voice, because I want them to be happy and to feel secure when recording. And also Alex Holzwart, the drummer. So I just told him, yeah, you got a rough outline for the drums, but please do what you like. And I literally told him to go full Monty, to go fully gung ho, and not restrict himself. And some of the vocalists, they rather stuck to my ideas, but some really made some changes. For example, Pete Sealk of Iron Savior, he asked me if he could change some parts of the lyrics, so he felt more comfortable with them, and that was fine for me. So you asked me about the song. I think that would be Parliament of Spring, because Pete changed some lyrics around, and but the final result is not that much different from what I had in mind in the first place.
And I wanted to ask you as well, this amazing album that's out. I wanted to ask you, basically, is this a plan to move forward in doing conceptual material?
Yes. So spoiler alert here. I didn't record one album, but two.
Wow.
So I mean, this is the fourth album by Lucid Dreaming. I did 3 albums earlier, but that was a different subject. They dealt with a fantasy story. And yeah, so you could maybe also call Upon the Barricades a bit of a product of the pandemic, because it all changed our lives. And so when the first lockdown came, I was sitting at home for 6 weeks because my day job was closed, and I had a lot of free time on my hands. And I started mapping out 2 albums, as I said earlier, and then I started writing. And after 6 weeks, a lot of the songs were done. And I thought, okay, we're really talking about 2 albums here. So I created 2 albums simultaneously, but I didn't want to release them both at the same time. So I talked with the label, and they agreed to release 1 album first, and yeah, maybe release the second album in a year. So you got some more coming there.
And we talked about the director concept.
Yeah.
If someone approached you to put this in cinematic form, who would you like to direct it?
Oh my, this is an interesting question. And it's also a bit of a difficult question because I'm not that much of a movie maniac. I mean, I occasionally watch movies, but I'm not much of a expert on that. So, I'm a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings movies, which is probably not the most original answer, but these are definitely up there. So I think Peter Jackson could do it really well. Yeah. As for historical movies, yeah, well, I love Braveheart, and it was directed by Mel Gibson, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe Mel Gibson could be a good director too. I would also love Alfred Hitchcock to do it, but
right.
that's difficult, of course.
Yes. I wanted to ask you as well, and talking of history, we always say that history repeats itself. I wanted to ask you, do you feel that this story in its own is relative to what we're going through today in some aspects?
It is. I would say it's definitely relevant because I mean, history, all periods of history are built up on one another. So if you go back to ancient history, at first you might think that, for example, ancient Greece or ancient Rome have nothing to do with this. But like the concept of democracy was invented in Greece, as far as I know. So we still draw from that period of history.
Sure.
And as I said earlier, um, the 19th century marked the transit in Germany and in Europe. It marked the transition from royal empires to national states. And nowadays, again, we have a big political debate in Germany about democracy, with conservative forces, even right-wing extremist forces on the rise. And there's a big discussion if democracy in Germany is being threatened by extremists. And you may think of this whatever you want, but we still should keep in mind that there was a period in Germany in 1848 when we tried to put democracy on the map in Germany, and we didn't succeed, but it was a first try, and we should remember those who tried to do it, who fought, who died, because maybe without that failed revolution of then, we wouldn't be where we are today.
And one thing I wanted to definitely talk about with the Psalm is you have a great ability to create an amazing, beautiful musical landscape. I wanted to ask you if you could speak on your development as a musician.
Uh, it's been quite a few years because I'm 49 now, so and I've been playing in bands for most of my life. I started out with classical guitar as a kid and founded my first schoolboys band when I was 15, etc. But yeah, I mean, these are small stepping stones. And I played in my first real band in my early 20s. That was a black metal band called Satanic Wizard. Um, and I mean, traditional metal and power metal has always been my number one love when it comes to music. But it's been rather difficult to find other people because when I grew up in the 90s, this wasn't particularly popular. And alternative rock was big, and later punk, pop punk, etc. And it was difficult to find others who would actually be willing to found a power metal band. So the band I played in since 2002, Elven Path, yeah, I mean, we've been around for 24 years now, and we're still an underground band, and we're comfortable being an underground band. That's fine. We just like to, of course, release albums and try to play live as much as possible, try to get around. So yeah, I've been active in the underground with that band and then with Lucid Dreaming. And I plan to do so for a few more years or even decades.
And this album is amazing from top to bottom. I wanted to ask you, what is the best way to get a hold of a physical copy of the album and any merchandise that you have?
Um, one possibility would be to contact me directly because I have some. Of course, I have the new album and I have some shirts from the last album. I didn't get any new shirts printed, but I have some very nice old shirts left and patches. So you would best email metal@elvenpath.com or till@elvenpath.com. And you can also get a physical copy of the CD directly from the label El Puerto Records. Of course, it's a bit difficult if you're in America because I'm not sure how the distribution in America is at the moment.
Sure.
And postage fees are rather high, but maybe we can work something out if somebody's interested.
And this album has taken on a great form and has brought a lot of views to you. I wanted to ask you if the growth continues to happen, Will you consider touring this album?
Uh, I'm sorry, no, because it's really a studio project. And I earlier thought of bringing Lucid Dreaming to the stage. Basically, this was when I released the third album, no, the second album actually, because I noticed that a lot of people, even whom I know, they weren't familiar with Lucid Dreaming because if you don't play live, nobody notices
Sure.
you. you there's 100 and more releases every month, and so if you don't show up live, you will just get lost. And so I thought about back then. I thought about maybe doing some light version of Lucid Dreaming in order to play some festivals,
Mhm.
and I asked several vocalists if they would do this kind of, I'd say, watered down version for vocalists, and I planned for a 45-minute set, and already had a confirmation of several festivals. And then COVID happened, and nothing came out of it.
Wow.
And so instead, I focused on the albums. And now this album is out, and all these amazing vocalists are on it. So I couldn't go out on stage now and not have Zach Stevens, and not have Blaze Bailey, and not have Harry Conklin, etc. And well, if some promoter is willing to give me, I don't know how much money, but we can talk about it. But no, this is not going to happen, of course. So Lucid Dreaming is going to remain a studio project, and I'm happy with that.
And we talked about your tenure as an artist. You've been doing this for a long time. I wanted to ask you if an artist just forming and wanting to start a career came to you and asked you, what would be the best advice that you could give me? What advice would you give them?
Um, Again, this might not be original, but I think the most important thing would be stay true to yourself and do what makes you happy. So if you want to be successful in the long term, I believe you can only be so by really doing what you love.
Mm,
Otherwise, your music your music will suffer if your heart isn't in it.
sure.
So yeah, so that would be very important. And yeah, you have to work hard. You have to be patient, and you will suffer a lot of disappointment. But focus on the positive aspects because they will make it all worthwhile.
Sure.
And even if you will read a lot of negative reviews, and you will be refused by promoters, etc., and you will hear a lot of shit being talked about you, but you will have a lot of positive reactions. Focus on those.
Absolutely. And during your tenure in the band, you've seen so many changes throughout the industry. It's really
Yeah.
the whole format has changed, really.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because when we started out, of course, there was the internet, but it wasn't that important yet, and
Mm,
we, you didn't have so much. I mean, no, streaming was unheard of, and illegal downloading was being talked about. But basically, record labels would still give you budgets,
sure.
and there would still be nice amounts of CDs sold, and all this has changed, of course. But the good thing about this is that I'm not a professional musician. I have a day job, so I don't have to make a living from it. So that's okay.
Yes. And lastly, I wanted to ask you if you could give any message to your fans and your new fans that are coming, what message would you give them?
Well, first off, I'd like to say thanks to everybody who listened to this. Thank you for your interest in the music, and I'm really grateful for anybody who actually shows some interest, because there's a million bands out there and there's so many releases. And we live in a very fast age where music is being consumed so quickly. You skip from track to track, and if it fails to impress you after 5 seconds, you just skip, etc. So I'm always grateful if somebody really puts in the patience and the effort to enjoy an entire album from start to finish. And I would say, if you don't want fast food, but if you want a really well balanced musical menu, Lucid Dreaming is for you.
Absolutely.
And streaming is good for checking out the music. Nothing wrong with that. But if you really like it, I'd ask you to actually buy a copy. And if you don't have a CD player anymore, I'd ask you at least to buy a download.
Yes. Because I think, especially with an album that has such conceptual value as this album does, to listen to pieces of it is not doing the story the justice it deserves.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, we're all live in a fast-paced age, and you only have so much spare time on your hands. You know how it is. So it's anybody's choice how they will approach the album. But of course, taking your time and really listening to it, reading the lyrics would be the best way.
And that's what brought me to research the story, because I honestly didn't know anything about it, but until I heard the album, and I'm like, man, I need to look into this and dig deeper into it. And I think that's the beauty of the album.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, my friend, for taking time to speak with me. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, my friend.
Absolutely my pleasure, Robert. And I wish you all the best with your podcast. And let's be in touch because, as I said, next year, hopefully, there's another release and then we can talk again.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can talk even before that, my friend. You take
Absolutely.
care. Enjoy
It's a
the rest of
pleasure.
your day.
Okay. Bye
Cheers.
bye.